Hello, and today's learning target is I can find the slope from a graph. Slope is an important concept that we are going to be talking about quite a bit here in the next couple weeks, and it's something to really make sure that you can understand and that you have down because, like I said, we're going to use it a lot within the next couple weeks, and it's something that math will continue to build on the idea of slope. So let's talk about it. Slope is how fast a line is changing or how steep a line is, and this is sometimes referred to as the rate of change. So slope and the words rate of change mean the same thing. We can calculate or find the slope of a line by finding the change in the y and dividing by the change in the x. So finding the difference in the y values and dividing that by the difference in the x values. Slope is usually referred to by the variable m, and it's really important that you know that and remember that. So m will represent slope. The general rule of thumb or formula for finding slope, and it's a good idea if you can memorize this, is that m equals the change in y divided by the change in x. And that division bar or that fraction bar really just means division. And sometimes you might see change in y written as a triangle y and then triangle x. And that just means change. So change in y divided by change in x, or m is equal to rise over run. And that's again rising up or down on the y-axis and running left or right on the x-axis. Slope is either written as an integer or a reduced fraction. It can be written as an improper fraction, but never write it as a mixed number. And we will learn that you'll never see it as a mixed number, and you don't want to write it as a mixed number because if you have to graph that slope, then it's very, very difficult. So do not write it as a mixed number. We want to leave it as an improper fraction or an integer or a reduced fraction. There are different types of slopes. Let's take a look at the following. So there's 4 types of slopes. I'm trying to zoom in. There we go. The first is a positive slope. And so this here means that you have a line that goes upward, an upward trend from left to right. So just like that. Line slopes up from left to right. For a negative slope, line slopes down from left to right. So you can see it's going downward, which means a negative slope. Slope of 0 means that you have a flat horizontal line. That's not going up, that's not going down, that slope cannot be calculated. So that is a slope of 0. Whereas the opposite is a vertical line. This is an undefined slope. This means the slope is just straight up and down, too steep. You can't calculate it. So it's known as undefined. So again, these are really important to know as we review slope. A positive slope goes an upward trend from left to right. Negative slope goes in a downward trend from left to right. Slope of 0 is a horizontal line, so a flat line. And an undefined slope is a vertical line, or it goes up and down. Now we're going to take a look at finding slope from the following lines. So let's take a look at this first example. So I'm going to pick 2 points that are on this line that actually meet in a corner of a grid point, so an actual position. So I will go ahead and right here, it looks like there's an actual point on the grid line, and about right there. So now I'm going to find the rise over run. So I'm going to find the rise up from this bottom point to the top point. So I'm going to rise up 1, 2, 3. So that distance there, this straight up distance, is 3 units. So m equals rise over run. So I rose 3, and now I'm running straight across to get to the next point, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots. So my slope is 3/5. Again, slope is rise over run. Let's look at the next example. So for this example, I will pick this point right here, and I will pick this point right here. Really, they're all on a grid point line. So here I rise up none, right? I'm not going up any, and I'm running over to the next point, 2 units. So here m would equal 0 over 2, and 0 divided by any number is 0. And if you recall from that last bit of notes that we took, a flat horizontal line has a slope of 0. So if you had remembered that, you wouldn't even really need to do any calculating here. You know that the slope would just be 0. All right, let's continue on and look at the next example. Okay, so I'll pick 2 points that are on this line, and I can pick this point here, and let's pick this point here. And so again, this equals rise over run. So if I start at this bottom point and I rise up, I go up 4 units, and I run across no units. I'm actually already at that point. So 4 over 0. If you type in your calculator 4 divided by 0, you're going to see error. So what this means is, again, a vertical straight up and down line is undefined. 4 divided by 0, you can't do. Can't divide by any, or no, any number can't be divided by 0. So I'll write undefined for this undefined slope. Okay, let's go to the next example. Here I'm going to pick 2 points on this line, so I'll go ahead and pick this point right here and this point right there. So now I'll do rise over run, so I'll start at the top point and go down to the bottom point of the graph. So I'm going to rise, this is downward, so when you go downward, that's actually a negative value, right? We're in downward, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's actually going down on the graph -5 units. And then running across 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's going to the right, so that's positive. So here m would equal -5 over 4, and let's confirm that this should be negative. This line is going in a downward trend from left to right, so it also should be negative. So that's another way to confirm that you do have a negative slope. Okay, so let's continue on. Down in the bottom left here, I'm going to label 2 points on this graph, and I'll label this point right here, and I'll label this point right here. And I'll go ahead and start at this bottom point and rise up, and I'll go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units, and run to the right 2 units. So 6 divided by 2 really simplifies to be 3. So this slope is actually 3 over 1, and I do not need to write the over 1, so I can just write 3. So if we had actually gone back, I could have picked this point right here and rose up 1, 2, 3 over 1, and that would have worked as well. So it's always good to simplify when you can, and you should, and so here this slope is 3. Okay, let's look at this last example. I'm going to choose 2 points on this line, and I'll choose this point right here, and I'll choose this point right here. And I'll go ahead and I'll start with the top point and go to the bottom point. So I go down on the graph -1 units and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my rise is -1 and my run is 8. And it would not have mattered if I would have said, start at the bottom point and rose up 1 and went to the left 8. That still would have been -1/8. So it doesn't matter where you put the negative sign. As long as you have the negative sign in there, you are all covered. And again, it's good to confirm that your graph is negative by making sure it follows a downward trend from left to right, which here it does. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.